We are live. It's Thursday night once again. Welcome in to Star Wars Newsnet Live. It's the best time of the week, as I always say, even though it's literally way too late for me to be doing this over here. But I'm always excited to be here alongside Brian and Jay. And I just have one question for you guys to start us off today. And this leads right into our quick hitters. Is Mace Windu dead?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, he's dead.
The answer better unequivocally be yes, please.
He's dead. Nah, he's dead.
Samuel L. Jackson trying so hard to manifest something right now. I think
he's
someone
trying.
in our Discord chat said that him and Ewan are just in a battle of manifestation. Was that you, Jay, that said that or something?
Oh no, I think that was Sydney or someone else.
Okay, it was Sydney. I was like, someone said that. I saw that at school, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. But I couldn't respond right away. So shouts to Sid. But no, that's the first in our quick hitters of just Samuel Jackson. Like, I love the fact that he loves Mace Windu, and I'm sure he said that. I didn't watch or read like that full thing. I just saw like the quote that was going around. I hope that was made just kind of in jest as well, because if Mace Windu is alive, then there is no death in
Nobody's
Star Wars
dead.
that has
Yeah.
any significance, weight, or meaning behind it, because that's like the one that really does it, right? Like that's the one that really does it.
Right.
We just talked about this last week, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. No, he's got to be dead because, like you said, there's no stakes. If he's still alive, then everybody is. And I know everybody likes to say no body, no death. Like people like to say that, but no, he's dead. And if I was in Star Wars and they killed my character off too, I'd be begging for him to resurrect him too. Like, oh yeah, I want to come back to Star Wars. Who wouldn't?
The Force, and he fell. We never saw his body. He was the Force from a long ways. I'm sure that he can make a return at some point. Give it up. It's over. You're dead. You're done. Gone. You're bye-bye. You're zapped by Palpatine. Okay, get over it.
Have you guys ever seen that trailer for the show that never got released, the Star Wars Detours, where Obi-Wan is standing up doing stand-up comedy in Jabba's palace, and he's like, "Don't you people get it? His name was Windu, and he went out a window," and nobody's laughing at all. And he's like, "That joke was hilarious, and you all loved it." And everyone starts laughing. Great, loved it.
That's fantastic. Everyone, please, that's listening, like and subscribe to the channel. Put the link out wherever you are, because we have a fun conversation tonight. We have some quick hitters from just some different news around Star Wars, but we have a really fun conversation tonight that I am excited to dig into. And Brian, you want to put our thumbnail back up, just that graphic. We're going to dive into the prophecy of the Chosen One here in Star Wars, because honestly, it has set the stage for so much debate within the Star Wars fandom, both in terms of how it was handled in the prequels themselves, whether or not this was a good idea from George to even have this Chosen One prophecy. And little did we know that would work itself into how we talked about the sequels. And there was a conversation around different parts of the fandom of how the prophecy of the Chosen One could affect like Rey and these other characters. Like, how is all of this going on if all of this was already resolved or supposed to bring balance? So I'm excited to get your guys' thoughts and for us to dive into, like, I think what the prophecy means for Star Wars, but also what the prophecy means to each of us individually and how we interpret that as well. And even if it was a good idea from George. So I am really excited for that, because we just finished breaking down Revenge of the Sith and the prequel trilogy. And so it's fresh on our minds. It's fresh in everyone else's minds. And I know that it's a hot button topic for people still, like all these years later. I mean, we're about 25-year anniversary for Phantom Menace, and it's still something that people are talking about. So drop the link, get your friends in here, get people you know in here. Let's talk about the Chosen One prophecy today. But speaking of Phantom Menace and 25 years of Star Wars prequels, which is,
I hate how casually you can just drop that.
It's pretty wild. I mean, it kind of the Empire. So we talked about the Empire piece predictions last week. And I said, I was hoping to be Acolyte, but I thought that it was going to be some sort of like Phantom Menace kind of, thing. And it was. And some of the images and photos are really cool from this. And I just want to know what your guys' initial thoughts when you saw the cover for the Empire magazine, some of the little blurbs that have come out since. And honestly, we don't take enough time to reflect, I think, over just how incredible it is that it has been 25 years since the prequels and the massive change that has happened in terms of how they're talked about and revered in Star Wars lore. I'll throw it to you, Jay.
So my initial reaction, I'll like, we talked about this last week, and I was thinking it was gonna be the acolytes. So when the actual reveal did come, I mean, like a lot of people, I think I was a little bit disappointed um to just realize, oh, it's just talking
Mhm.
about the prequels. Nonetheless, like I think it is a cool topic, and I think you are right. Like, let's talk about how over 25 years, the rhetoric surrounding these films have changed, and they've
Mhm.
changed a lot. So I think that there was, again, some bit of disappointment when it was first revealed, but
Okay.
I mean, what we have got actually is there are some pretty good and juicy stuff, like talking about Samuel Jackson talking about Mace Windu. I thought that there's discussion of Ian McDiarmid was also pretty funny. But no, I think that so far it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
I We're not going there. Okay. I was about to make a joke. Oh, we're not going there. But I honestly wasn't disappointed at all because I mean I was anticipating that and I love the Phantom Menace. I love the prequel era. And so even just seeing the brand new like poster art that's coming out for the movie re-release, which we'll talk about in a minute when it comes out. Like that just makes me so excited to see that and
So
kind of
pretty.
just a lot of this now it was just nostalgia fest and I think that's okay every once in a while just in fandom and in Star Wars. And so Brian, what about you when you saw kind of the Empire stuff come out, the different interviews? I was a little disappointed. I was like hoping maybe they could get George to come in for something and say something.
Mhm.
They didn't get that, but I'm looking forward to hearing what like Natalie Portman says and getting more on the
Yeah.
Ian McDiarmid stuff too. But what about you?
I was really glad you were right about that. Like part of me just for some reason I knew it was going to be Obi-Wan. I didn't want it to be, and I'm really glad you were right about it. No, when I saw the post, I thought it was kind of cool. And I can't believe it's been 25 years. It does not even remotely feel like it's been
Right.
25 years. And it just seems like that was 4 or 5 summers ago. Looking back now, so much has happened since then. But
Mhm.
yeah, like Jay said, the rhetoric has really changed around these movies since then. I remember there's one memory in particular that stands out about the first time I remember seeing somebody on TV saying that they didn't like the Phantom Menace. And it was weird as it was on a QVC special where they were doing stuff for episode 2. They were starting to
Yep.
put some stuff out for episode 2. And the guy they had on there was just like, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the Phantom Menace. And after the fallout of it, and I'm like, the fallout? What are you talking about? Because we didn't have the internet like this back then, it
Right.
was just, and so it was a little off-putting. I was like, oh, people didn't like that movie? It's Star
That's
Wars. How could
crazy.
you not
It's
like
Star
it?
Wars.
Yeah, but
Darth
I
Maul.
can't believe it's been 25 years, man. That's ridiculous. And 25 years from now, we'll be talking about, Star
Right.
Wars 34 or something along those. I don't know. But yeah, it's just wild to me that it's been that long.
Absolutely. It's an achievement for that. It's changed so much, and I cannot wait. And this brings us to our next question. I really want to, say one more time, like in the live chat, like please drop in. We do these quick hitters on different Star Wars news every single week to start the show, just kind of like quick reactions on things. So please drop in what your quick reactions are, and let's get the thing going this evening. So speaking of Phantom Menace, they're re-releasing it in theaters May
Mhm.
3rd, like May 4th weekend. Will you be in attendance, Brian?
Yeah, I'm going. I've said on this show before when they re-released episode 1 back in 3D back in like the early 2010s or whatever it was. I remember going to see it because I wanted to see the one scene of Darth Maul, like the door opening, and he was just standing there in the ho 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 ho, and that's the one scene. And I fell asleep during the pod race and woke up in the middle of lightsaber battle, and so I missed it. And I was like, man, so I'm gonna go see this one just for nostalgia, just to go see this thing in theaters again. It's worth going to see it again. And
Mhm.
my son is, going on 5 years old. He's getting into where he likes Star Wars a little bit. He can sit through a movie now. So by the time this rolls around, I'm thinking take him and this can be his first, theater experience.
That would be a pretty special way to enter into your first theater experience, seeing the Phantom Menace, of course. Jay, will you be in attendance?
Probably not.
Boo.
Look, okay, so the last time
because of Qui-Gon, Jay? Is it because of Qui-Gon?
It's because he lives, right?
It's because it's because you have to go watch Qui-Gon.
No, to be fair, I do, like, we've talked about Phantom Menace before on this show, and yes, I do think Qui-Gon is not a necessary character. I'll be honest.
Oh my god!
But I will say,
I don't have much room to talk, Jay, because remember I said Padme was unnecessary for 3, so Tyler's over here like having an aneurysm.
Everyone, you see what I have to deal with every Thursday. Like, you see how the struggle for me to come home from work.
You mentioned
stay
General
up
Grievous.
late in order to. Are you seriously
Jay
comparing Padme and Qui-Gon to General Grievous?
Yes.
Are you starting this again? You're comparing 2 titans of the prequel trilogy to some dude that gets offed in 3 seconds, claiming he was trained by Count Dooku. Well, you're not a very good student, buddy. Good lord.
Let's get back on top. So Phantom Menace. Last time I saw it was in theaters was the 2015 release of The Force Awakens. I went through like a whole movie marathon of that. So I went through, 1 through 7. 7 just came out at the time. So it's been quite a few years since, I last saw Phantom Menace in theaters. I did see the 3D version like Brian did. I didn't fall asleep. I
saw half of the 3D version.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I just gotta go back and get that other half.
Yeah.
So but like with this new one, like if it was put like in a different format, like IMAX, then yeah, absolutely. Now it's not, there's nothing really different or special about it. So I'm like, okay, I'll hold off.
I'll say this: there is something special about going to see the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace in theaters. I am sorry if I'm a sucker for all of this stuff. I'm the target audience for these re-releases because I'm always put a butt in the freaking seat. Like, I went to go see Dune again in theaters last week.
Oh,
for the re-release. That was cool. I love those movies. I am. Dune 2 is probably the movie I'm most excited for since The Rise of Skywalker came out. I'm more excited for Dune as a movie than I am for Rise of Skywalker, because I think we all kind of knew it wasn't going to be a masterpiece. So, but Dune, this second Dune Part 2, I think could be something really, really special. But I did love. So anyway, all that to say, I will be there in some form or fashion for the Phantom Menace. I have a wedding that weekend, a banquet on May 2nd, and I will be flying halfway across the country at some point that weekend, but I will find a way to be in a theater somewhere to watch Jay's favorite character, Qui-Gon, shape the lives of and shape
the most pivotal character in the history of Star Wars.
Yes, and Jar Jar is who I'm talking about, for those of you who are not sure. But anyway.
You don't mean that.
Just to see Uta Gungan Seamos Espa, yes. I mean, absolutely. And
it'll be cool to see the pod race again, yeah.
Like, Casey Barkle put some stuff on the Chosen One up there, and we're going to get to that later, so don't think we're going to bring those comments back later, so don't think that we're not going there. But first, we have to get through some of these quick hitters. For movie people, this is something we kind of already knew, but we found out that looks like Mando and Grogu movie is going to enter production in June. Something we all kind of thought was going to happen, and it looks like we're primed and ready for that May 2026 release is what's going to happen. Yeah. Here's my question. The movie title, The Mandalorian and Grogu, it looks like is that pretty set? Like, is that like never going to change?
I hope they change it.
Why do we have, like, and this is the thing with Disney Plus, and this is the thing I guess that's popular now, is just making the title, like the names of characters, movies, like the Deadpool movies coming out, and it's just Deadpool and Wolverine. And like, why can't we be creative with our names? So I want to ask you guys, I'm going to put you on the spot. Come up with an alternative name for the Mandalorian and Grogu. How creative are you? I'm gonna stall right now and keep talking for a second to see if your creative juices can flow.
I got
Because I
one.
am curious, what can you come up with on the spot for the Mandalorian and Grogu, other than just simply restating their names?
The Mandalorian season 3.5.
You let me down, Brian.
Got you.
I'm
got
devastated. I'm
I got
devastated
you.
right now. I had high
Or
hopes. Jay?
or the Mandalorian, a Star Wars story. Something I don't know. I have no idea. This is why I don't work for Lucasfilm.
This is what's holding you back. This alone is the only reason.
Doing,
this is the one
this
thing.
This is the reason. Yeah.
If you could figure this part out, you would be in. Jay, lay it on us.
The Last of the Mandalorian.
Oh, the death of Grogu.
The last of the Mandalorian, not Mandalorians, just the last of them. The Mandalorians, Mando's final chapter.
Well, actually, you know what's funny was I was.
Here goes Jay again, killing off characters.
No,
man.
like
he's killing Din now.
You're killing the title character in his own freaking show.
It was because I was thinking, okay, what else is Pedro Pascal in? He's in The Last of Us, so I'm like, okay, what if we just combine the
movie
two?
Doesn't need the Mandalorian.
Jay wakes up in the morning. Jay wakes up every morning going. Every Thursday morning, Jay wakes up. He's like, "Can't wait to see who I try to kill off this week." He's like, he's like, I'm licking, he's licking his chops to kill someone off every Thursday.
I'm gonna make a meme for next week, and it's gonna be the doors with all the names on it, and Jay's gonna be the Grim Reaper going door to door with a blood puddle coming out of each one.
I'm the Grim Reaper, just killing off all these favorite characters.
There's this meme I saw once where it has all of the former people that have been attached to Star Wars movies that have gotten mixed without, and it's just it's where Jay's characters are going to be, just up in the heavens. All right, so next quick hitter. We heard that the Acolyte, this was kind of a no-brainer, obviously moment, when it said the Collider dropped in that said the Acolyte is going to come out this summer. There's nothing wrong with the title. Okay, Diablo Cooling, I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with the title. I don't think that's what any of us were saying. I think we were just saying, this is Star Wars we're talking about. We just got done talking about the Phantom Menace. This is Star Wars we're talking about. This is the return to theaters for Star Wars. And the title that we're going with is just, it feels a little uninspired, although it tells us exactly why we're there, just feels a little uninspired. Is that what you guys would say?
Well, I mean, I think it's fine, but they may end up changing it just because if they give us the actual title of the movie, you could give away what the movie's about,
That's a good point too, yeah.
And it could be one of those things where Avengers Endgame, everybody's called it Avengers 4 until the trailer came out, and Rise of Skywalker, it was Star Wars 9.
But even Spider-Man, we didn't know the title for Spider-Man No Way Home for
late in the game,
a while, so it could definitely just be for spoiler reasons.
It could be, yeah.
What spoilers are there in these? When The Force Awakens came out, what were you guys like? Oh, I know what this one's gonna be about. No.
Well, boy, Attack of the Clones, I had no idea what was gonna happen in that movie. Revenge of the Sith, no idea. The Empire Strikes Back, I had no idea that the Empire was gonna strike back at the rebellion.
But you didn't know. Of course, you knew the Empire was going to. It's a war, of course. But that
Return of the Jedi, I had no idea the Jedi were going to come back. No clue whatsoever.
You know those things before the movie comes out. Those things before the movie comes out. Those are things you know.
That's what I'm saying. You know them from trailers, and that's.
But you don't know that from trailers. You knew the prequel, the Sith were going to rise because we know that there are no Jedi.
But I had no idea the clones were going to attack. I had no idea. It was out there.
We knew we were going back in the Clone Wars, but we didn't know that the clones were going to attack at some point.
I do agree with Manslayer though about the anthology thing. I thought that was a perfect little tag instead of a Star Wars story. I'd like the anthology a lot better than the Star Wars story thing.
They thought we were not capable of understanding the first one.
What the word anthology meant.
That may be true, and they may have a point. I don't know.
They might, yeah.
Some of us aren't. Some of us in the fandom we're not very smart. We get by. We do our best. We get by. So the Acolyte comes out this summer. Kind of an ode, but that could mean anything from late May all the way to early September. I think we were all kind of thinking a late August, early September release.
Yeah.
But did this article, this news, did this maybe change your mind and thinking, hey, we may be just a few short weeks or a month away from a trailer or a cover, and this could come out, maybe later May, early June instead of later this summer after Bad Batch comes out.
How many episodes of Bad Batch are there?
15.
It ends May 4th weekend, I believe.
It ends May
right,
4th weekend?
Right before May 4th.
No, that right there answers it. They're going to put the Acolyte trailer at the beginning of the re-release of Phantom Menace, and then they're going to release it publicly.
Yo,
that's exactly what they're going to do. They're
You
going to
think if
attach
they
it
did
to
that,
the
that's
Phantom
genius.
Menace. Yeah,
That's
that's
genius.
exactly what they're going to do. That is
That was
exactly
genius.
verbatim.
you're
Mark
gonna
my
get-
words. That's
We're gonna
exactly
find
what
out,
they're going to do.
and then you're gonna get people to go see the Phantom Menace just to see the action.
Just to see the Acolyte trailer, right? Yeah.
And then they walk out. And then they walk
Yeah.
out.
What movie was it? When I was a kid, we did that just to go watch the trailer for Revenge of the Sith in theaters.
Oh,
We
really?
went, I don't remember what movie it was attached to. It was like 101 Dalmatians or something. I don't remember what it was, but we went to watch. We paid to get in just to watch the trailer and get up and walk out. We did that.
That's awesome. So, yeah, do you think any chance it comes out a little bit earlier, like May, early June, or are you still sticking in the late summer? Ryan, you're shaking your head. No,
it's gonna be late summer. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Jay?
we still got Skeleton Crew coming too in the fall and holiday season. So
would they really put the Acolyte behind a paywall though?
that
Like,
no,
You know,
no, they'll put it at the beginning of the Phantom Menace, but they're gonna release it also.
oh yeah,
Is what I'm
okay.
saying.
I
They'll
see
do
what you're
both.
saying.
But you've got your target audience right
Yeah.
there. Like that's who you're going after.
Because
That's
I was thinking that they would put it at the end of the movie, and
they could do
you
that
know,
too. Yeah,
yeah. But
you
I
have to
think
sit
that
through the Phantom Menace. to
that'll be
see the
funny.
Acolyte
That'll be
trailer.
super funny, right? Like like you just
Don't fall
some-
asleep, Brian.
Some people are just like there for the trailer, having to like sit through like like another hour of Qui-Gon. No, but
Qui-Gon taking strays for no reason. Like, no reason at all. The disrespect to Liam Neeson.
Man.
I just hope
Love it.
hope that like you can still just watch it online though. Just make sure that
Yeah,
the trailer is
yeah.
still online.
I'm gonna find
Yeah.
something. I don't have much Qui-Gon. I don't really have any Qui-Gon
Uh-oh.
here. I have a lot of Qui-Gon back in storage, but gotta go get that. Anyway, given that we were talking about the prequels, my favorite scene of them, I have to go with the subplot, the rebellion, and Yoda arriving on Dagobah. Oh,
Mhm.
so,
was a great
so
scene.
good. So many great ones.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. But I cannot wait for the Acolyte just to keep us moving here. I cannot wait for the Acolyte. Here we go. High Republic people, this is your time. Temptation of the Force synopsis came out
Yes.
today, and oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack in just a
Sounds
little
so
synopsis.
good.
It's like the Avengers team up of Jedi for the High
Yeah.
Republic, because
Yeah.
Elzar and Avar are back together, and they're gonna explore their romance. Like it says in the synopsis that like they're embracing the feelings that they have for each other. So I'm gushing, like absolutely gushing about that, because I just need that. And I know we're gonna be talking about probably how the Jedi ultimately maybe this relationship is why something happens between them, which is why the Jedi are even so anti-attachment relationship later on. Like I feel like that this could set the stage for that. But anyway, it's like the Avenger team up of Elzar, Avar, Bell, Burry, and Vernestra. That's essentially what they said. It's like those five Jedi, and those are probably the 5 Jedi of the High Republic era for Phase 1 and 3
that are left. Yeah, that's basically them. Yeah.
You had to go there.
I had to go there, man. Sorry.
You had to do that. Okay.
I
Well,
had to go
yes, that are left.
That are
Yes.
left.
Okay. So first of all, I want you to talk about thoughts on Avar Elzar romance real quick, Avengers team up, and then 2 other thoughts. One, we're going to Naboo in this book, inside the occlusion zone to liberate Naboo from the Nile, which I think is going to be fantastic. And 3, I saw this on Twitter, or I guess 2. I saw this on Twitter. Could this happen? We know that Palpatine's family holds a lot of grudges against the Jedi. They do not like the Jedi. That, they hid their son from the Jedi. Could we see ancestors of Palpatine not play a large role in this movie, but maybe
Just
something happens. Something happens on Naboo that could affect them. The Jedi are responsible for. And that could start the line of hatred of the Jedi that, continue to weave threads hundreds of years later. Because they've done a good job at not making anything so central to the future. But could this be another way to just tie it in with the overall narrative of Star Wars? Could we see that? And I think that's a very interesting question. So I'll throw it to you first, Brian. Elzar Avar romance, Avengers team up, Naboo, Palpatine, go. Like
I can't wait to see Elzar Man and Avar Chris end up on the Naboo hideaway looking at the island out in the water, and he tells her how much he hates sand. I can't wait for that scene. No, in all seriousness, I am very excited for this book. If their romance is written any way like it, the romance was in like Convergence with those two, like, I mean, bring it on, dude. And I'm really excited.
And we've been waiting for it.
Yeah, and finally, like, and so this book sounds awesome, and it really sounds like, it feels like they're really gearing up for that big climactic, ending that we're going to get at the end of this phase. What, in like 2 years?
It's 2025. We have to wait till like June 2025.
Yeah.
And I talked to Charles Soule and Meg. I was like, so you have the draft, right? And he goes, he looks at his laptop. He's like, it's all right there, dude.
You
like,
grab the laptop and run.
He said everything you want to know is right there. And I was just kind of like, the urge to grab the laptop and run.
Take one for the
so
team.
Strong right now. I was like, I go live on Star Wars News Net, Instagram Live. I have it.
Start leaking.
Load and returns.
God. You need one of those USB drives they have in the movies where you just like secretly plug it in and it copies all the files.
Like Mission Impossible. You just put a little thing on there and suddenly I have access to like Lucasfilm's deepest, darkest secrets.
Oh my God. That'd be great.
And it's what's the guy's name? Like the big guy in Mission Impossible who's always talking to him. He's like, Ethan, on your right, there will be a
yeah.
And he's just talking to me. Tyler, hits the space bar 3 times, and you all of a sudden are in charge of the next production of a Star Wars movie. Anyway.
You also brought up the Sheev Palpatine thing on Naboo. I think it wouldn't shock me to get a name drop somewhere with the Palpatine name. If that's even his real name, you know what I mean? But it wouldn't shock me at all to see a little seed planted, and something along those lines.
What about you, Jay?
So I'll start off here. I actually haven't read the full synopsis yet because like I'm still working my way through.
He's still working on his Qui-Gon like death like fanfic.
No, I've been working through I still actually haven't picked up Eye of Darkness yet. So like I haven't I'm not up there yet. But I will say the cover is nice and
so good.
So when did Elzar Man get a beard, by the way?
You will, when you read Eye of Darkness, you will find out.
Okay.
I guess we can stop talking about Eye of Darkness now if Jay hasn't read it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Regarding
we just spoiled Eye of Darkness.
yeah, just spoil the whole book, or just spoil the whole thing. Save me like $25. No, but I will say, like Brian though, I wouldn't be like Brian. I wouldn't be surprised if Palpatine is name dropped, but I almost wish they would save that though. I want them to save Palpatine's origin story for something a little bit more bigger, like another movie, another TV show.
It's not his origin story though. It's just like his ancestors. Something happened. It's like just a quick nod, and it's like, oh, there's something to be explored there at some point.
Well, they've done it with
not like a story.
Done it with like Staros. They've done it with other characters also already.
I don't know, I don't know if I want to give that same treatment to Palpatine.
Palps,
yeah, because like I think like we've already seen it with these other characters like the Rose and like you said the Star Rose. I'm not a big fan. Like, how some people are like, they don't like the idea that only people, who, like in Star Wars, that the only people who have the Force are connected to like Skywalkers or connected to like, the Palpatines. I'm of like that sort of camp too, where I kind of hope that it's not like a generational thing and that it has to do with like his ancestors. That's why Palpatine is that way it is.
Like he's evil, or that he holds it, because we know that it's like family, like it's like a thing where his family like holds a grudge against the Jedi. Like they hid his powers, like they hid his Force abilities from the Jedi because they didn't want him to be taken to like the temple. It was like he didn't. It was like a thing. So like
Is
we
that
know
the
there's
official canon?
I think that's canon.
Is it? Oh wow.
That may be from canon. That may
I don't think so.
is that from the Lucero book, Lucino book that's
Yeah,
not
that's
canon
from
anymore?
Plagueis. Yeah,
Okay.
that's from
Okay.
Plagueis. Yeah.
At the same well then
You
at the
started
same
saying that, and I
time.
was like,
Well, even if that's not canon, I think it's a fair thing to deduce because
yeah, no,
if the
I agree.
Jedi, because if he's so powerful with the Force at a young age, someone had to have concealed that from the
Yeah.
Jedi, or else they would have known about it. Because he
Mhm.
grew up on Naboo, a core planet, an important planet in the Republic, so and was a prominent member of a
Mhm.
royal house in Naboo. So someone had to have concealed that to some degree at the same time. I'm just spitballing.
No,
I
totally
see what
agree.
Jay's saying, like
Yeah.
keeping it separate, keeping Palpatine's origins separate.
Saving it. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's all the thing about the High Republic is it's setting the stage for why the Jedi fall. Like it's setting the stage for how they fall from grace. And if one of the important ways in the culmination of their fall is Palpatine. So if something happens in the penultimate book
Yeah.
of this whole journey we're on with the High Republic that could affect that to some degree. I'm not saying it's the end all be all. Like it might be the perfect time to just do something subtle like that. And
Yeah.
it's not like they can't change that or work with around that in the future with actual like show, movie, whatever.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
it could just make it just a little bit of a nod to those to the
Right.
films, just a little bit
Yeah.
of something.
So I think that's probably like the limit to where I would want to go with that, though. Like
Yeah,
I don't want
I wouldn't want any more.
yeah.
Well,
I'm
keep in mind
definitely
the
not like
Sith
a
are out
full
there
origin.
somewhere. The Sith are
Right.
out there somewhere watching all of this happen. So they're, I mean, you got to keep that in mind too.
And that's what the acolyte's gonna probably
Yeah.
get us into is they're
Yeah.
watching all of this happen, and then I guess, and then several decades, 50 years or whatever it is before the
Yeah.
Phantom Menace, that's when they start to make their move. After all this happens, the High Republic era ends, and here we enter into the Fall of the Jedi era. So it's just all connected in such a beautiful way that isn't so tightly wound that you can't to have some fun like interweaving the different threads. Last thing, are either of you, I know you guys, have you watched Young Jedi Adventures? The season finale is on Disney Plus
yet.
and everything.
No.
So I don't know if you guys are Young Jedi Adventures fans. I've like pretty
I'm
much
working
caught
my
up.
way through them.
Bring in
I had like
Nate.
2 episodes left. Have you watched any of it, Jay?
I have a nephew, and I just watched like the first 2 episodes with him.
Oh, okay. That's good.
So,
Did he like it?
he's like, well, he's not. He's almost 1 year old.
Oh, okay. So
he's a little over 1 year old now. So like
yeah,
he
okay.
like watching
enough.
it, like just like crawling around the room. But
Brian, what are your thoughts on Young Jedi Adventures?
I'm working my way through it. I'm still on the first batch of episodes they released. I'm not the target audience for it, so I mean, it's. But what made me want to go back and start watching it though was, in these newest episodes, Loden Great Storm is supposed to pop up, and and Bel Zettifar is supposed to be popping up, and so it lends a little more credibility to the show as being what canon, right? And so it's like, oh crap, now I have to go back and watch them. So I went back and started them over, and I'm watching them in chronological order. Like it's like the first 2 episodes and then like all the shorts, and then you continue on. Yeah, and so I've been watching them that way, and they're not bad. My son will sit and be like, he's 4, he's going on 5. He's the target audience, and so
they have something to say.
Yeah, and
I wasn't really watching, and then I saw the little trailer, and I'm like, "That's Belle, that's Loden." Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go watch. Like,
Yeah.
I have to watch.
That's
now.
Ember.
Like, my boys
Like
are in here.
Ember's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
I was like, I have to watch. That's Starlight Beacon. Okay, I have to watch, and so that way the toddlers of America and beyond can be absolutely horrified when the Nameless come and kill Nubs and everyone in season 2.
Buryaga. Oh no, it wasn't the Nameless on Buryaga, was it? Never mind. We'll talk about that later. I'm derailing.
So fun little roundtable discussion there as we went through. It's crazy how much random little things can pop up in a random week in Star Wars. You know what I mean? And like next week, we're getting a brand new show next week. Like that's just how crazy it's gonna be. So we're gonna have a brand new show to talk about every week in the Bad Batch. 3-episode premiere next week, and I'm sure there's gonna be some snippets of other things popping up here and there throughout the weeks. So here we go. We're gonna have a nice long fun discussion on the prophecy of the chosen one. And here is the prophecy. A chosen one shall come, born of no father. There was no father. And through him will ultimate balance in the force be restored. So my first question for you is going to open up a whole can of worms. Is this something George Lucas should have completely avoided in the prequel trilogy? And obviously it's George's story, and I am not someone to tell another person how they should write their story. But as a fan of Star Wars and a critic of Star Wars, should George have avoided the chosen one prophecy altogether? Does it take away from the story in general? Jay.
It's. I'll say this about the whole prophecy thing and about like the whole no father thing. Subtlety is not George Lucas's specialty. Let's just get that out of the way. I think we can all agree on that. And I've never been.
Is he like Obi-Wan when he says Sith Lords are a speciality and then gets absolutely destroyed by a Sith Lord? Like George Lucas,
Wrecked
subtlety
4
is
seconds
my
later.
speciality. Throws it in your face.
Well, for me, I've always I've never been a fan of the Jesus allegory. Comparing Anakin and Jesus and all that. So there's that aspect. As for like whether he should have included it or not, I think it works and it's fine. It works and it's fine. Do I wish it was more subtle? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Right.
Totally unnecessary. It was totally unnecessary. I think they could have just, Shmi could have just, I don't know who his father is, like it was a long time ago, and of course you'd always have that mystery of like who was, Luke Skywalker's grandfather. But I would rather have that than this, because I get why he did it. It's another reason Anakin fell to the dark side, because he had it in his head the whole time. He knew about it and he was trying to live up to it. And, it separated him from the other kids. Even some of the books, Rise of the Red Blade, it talks about how Iskat was, he was supposedly the chosen one, whatever that meant. And everybody knew about it. And it set him apart from everything. And it really helped put him down that dark side path. I don't think it was even necessary.
So, Brian,
it was kind of a back thought, really.
Really, like, quick follow-up question to your thoughts then. Let's say George Lucas gets rid of the chosen one prophecy, and I was thinking about it like, okay, would that mean that Anakin would just be another regular Jedi who just so happened to turn bad? Because I was thinking about that in my head, and I'm like, that's actually not that bad either.
No, it's not. It's not bad at all, because when you think about it, Palpatine was going to get rid of the Jedi one way or another, with or without Anakin. He had Order 66 in place. All the Jedi were going to get wiped out. Anakin, if he'd have survived, was just going to end up being another Jedi that got gunned down or living on a backwater somewhere like all their other Jedi. And so that was bound to happen. It's not Anakin's fault that, the Jedi fell. That was a plan that was, a millennia in the making.
He did chop off Mace's
facilitated
arm when they could have taken out Palpatine.
But he wouldn't have been the one to tell Mace Windu, hey, I think he's a Sith Lord. Mace Windu went to arrest him. So he wouldn't have been there in the first. Like, there's a lot of what ifs about that. And I don't know. I think it was just an unnecessary thing. I think the only reason it was brought up was because it gave Qui-Gon a legitimate excuse to bring a 9-year-old kid before the Jedi Council and say, we need to train him. I think that's the only reason that it was really done, and try to explain why he was as powerful as he was. I think it would have been more interesting if you didn't know why he was more powerful than everybody else, why he had a midichlorian count that was more than Master Yoda's, and it's just been this anomaly that just came out of nowhere. Like, holy crap, this kid is freaking powerful. I mean, so I know it's not canon anymore, but everybody loves him. Look at Starkiller, right? From the Force Unleashed games. He obviously was incredibly powerful with the Force, right? He wasn't a chosen one. Like, he was
just a random guy.
He was just a really powerful, raw power Force user.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they couldn't have done the same thing with Anakin instead of adding this whole mystical thing. Because moving on, it's never mentioned at all in episode 2. It's touched on in episode 3 when, you know, Yoda's like, a prophecy misread could have been, you know, and that's the only time it's ever touched on again, ever. It's only ever in episode 1. And so I feel like it was the excuse for Qui-Gon to bring Anakin to the
Obi-Wan at the
Jedi
end of
Council.
Obi-Wan at the end of episode 3, like in his little cry.
Well, yeah,
at
and
the
you were
end.
the chosen
Yeah.
one, yeah.
So can one of you guys actually just pull up Manslayer's comment up in the chat?
Which-
Actually, because
Which one?
I would say no. Mythology is one.
Okay.
So he says, I would say no. Mythology is one of the Star Wars pillars. The status of the chosen one gives this character and story mythic proportion. I want to play a bit of devil's advocate because I think this brought up some like ideas in my head, and I will like defend this part a little bit because I think that by making him the chosen one, there's a little bit of that Greek mythology in it, in that it's like Oedipus. It's like a lot of these Greek tragedies, right? Where you have this person who has this big mythical like prophecy spoken about them, and then that gets planted in their head, and then because
Yeah.
they can't get rid of it, they end up fulfilling said prophecy. So like it is interesting, like there's multiple ways of approaching it. I'm still of like the idea that you know, you can't like it's unnecessary. Like Brian said, he could have just been another regular dude, but I do also, that is one connection that I think that does make me enjoy it a little bit more, which is this idea that at least it connects to
Mhm.
you know, what just classic literature.
I feel like Qui-Gon's the reason it all went south, though, because he's the one that mentioned the chosen one in front of Anakin to the Jedi Council. That whole conversation should never have left the Jedi Council chambers about the chosen one. That Anakin shouldn't have known about it. You know, they should have never left the council chambers. It shouldn't have been out for the other students to know. And I don't think it would have pushed, like you said, he was a self-fulfilling prophecy, basically. And I don't. That's something I don't think Anakin should have even known because he was so stressed
think
to
you're
try
right.
to live up to that. You know what I mean?
I think you're right. Yeah.
That should have been a behind
Don't you
closed
think that's
doors
something
thing.
he would have found out about that? Someone would have said something at some point.
Yeah, but I think
Maybe,
that
but
Maybe?
for
but
mean,
it wouldn't
the
have been on
legend
his
of him-
shoulders from. But he wouldn't have been on his shoulders as a
Right.
9-year-old kid
Yeah.
moving forward. You know,
Are you
Um,
sure?
I'm
mean,
sure at some point
because
Obi-Wan came
that
to
happens
him.
in the Jedi Council chamber, and you know, but I don't. Are the masters going out and gossiping about that? Like how did the kids found out about it? I don't know if Anakin's going back. I mean, gets back from Naboo, going, "Yeah, I'm the chosen one." I don't know if that's happening, but they found out there's a 9-year-old kid
Mhm.
that came back from Naboo, having this, you know, single-handedly destroyed the Trade Federation control ship.
Right. There's a
Won this
9-year-old
pod race,
Padawan out of
like,
nowhere. Yeah.
He's just come out. He's like a prodigy at that point, and he's coming into these Padawan whatever, and he suddenly has more skills than everyone else, but he's never even been trained. Like he's kind of this prodigy.
Maybe Qui-Gon shouldn't have said anything to anybody then. You know,
Right.
Qui-Gon was the only one that knew he didn't have a father, other than Anakin, obviously. But he was the only one that that knew that. You know, Yoda didn't even want them to train him, even though, you know, he's like the chosen one, the boy may be. Nevertheless, you know, he disagreed with the council, but the council went ahead and allowed it. So maybe Qui-Gon should have just kept his mouth shut entirely, you know, and just took him on as, because like I said, if Qui-Gon had trained him, he would have taken him off somewhere else and trained him as a Jedi on his own somewhere, almost as a way seeker kind of thing, you know? And so I think Qui-Gon should have just kept his mouth shut. Maybe Qui-Gon should have died a little sooner, Jay. Maybe I'm starting to get on your side of things.
So that's like Bart. That's more of a story thing. So I'll be honest. I don't love the Chosen One arc for the story. Like I don't think that it's a great. I see what Manslayer is saying with in terms of a mythology, and it builds like the mythos of Star Wars. This kind of this grand, fateful, you know, all powerful, just overwhelming presence like the Force brings, and everything is connected through these inner threads of fate that bring us to the moment where Anakin turns back and, you know, saves Luke and fulfills this prophecy and brings balance. But I think it just caused so much kind of just it's like it makes it a big mess. And I think even in the sequels, we're talking about this prophecy where it's this ultimate balance being restored. And well, there's a big mess again in 30 years. And it didn't take very long for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it takes away a little bit from the story of the original trilogy, a little bit, which to
Yeah.
me is a story about a man coming back to the light to save because of his son and saving his son, not because he's fulfilling some grand prophecy and fulfilling something that's been foretold. It's because of what his son did and reached out to him, and he's coming, and he's coming back for him. And when George kind of introduced this whole prophecy, I do think he adds to the mythic proportion of all of it. But I think that you can accomplish the same thing by just building Anakin up as this child prodigy that is making waves in the Jedi. He's more powerful than everyone. He's well known for being so powerful and is kind of put up as the poster Jedi, the ultimate hero, which he is in the Clone Wars without the attachment of the Chosen One prophecy.
Yeah.
And even he falls and succumbs to the dark side. But
So,
go ahead, Jay.
Tyler, like I just want to add quickly, because following what you said there, I had some thoughts. And you're talking about how it's messy, and it also kind of does repaints the original trilogy in a whole different light. I'll say that the whole Chosen One prophecy also does is it centers the entire series all of a sudden now on Anakin, that's fine. But I think that when you do that, well, what happens when the character is no longer there? And this is like a problem that we're seeing now in Star Wars. What happens when the Skywalker family isn't in Star Wars, isn't in these series and these movies? How do you build off of that? And we can argue about like this for for forever, like this whole idea of like, oh well, George didn't plan on this series continuing on for as long as it has now. But I think that like it certainly does. Again, yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're arguing about whether or not it was a positive or a negative. I think it's a bit of a negative, where now we just have such a centric focus on Anakin.
Well,
And
here's the thing: is beyond Anakin, is that you could interpret this, from a certain point of view in so many ways. You could say, well, through the Chosen One, we got Luke and Leia. And it's not necessarily through Anakin. You could interpret it as through Luke and Leia. And through Luke and Leia, you had Ben Solo. You have Rey Skywalker. Through Rey Skywalker, you're going to have this next generation of Jedi. And so, in a sense, I guess you could say that the prophecy of the Chosen One could more revolve around, like, this is stretching it due to the fact that it's Star Wars and we need to stretch this a little bit. It's not probably what George intended, but at this point, Star Wars has grown to a point beyond what George probably ever intended or thought it would. And so pushing forward, I think saying that like the Chosen One prophecy even, is a lineage in of itself and expands beyond that. The Jedi Order was going to always fall, but the Chosen One through the Chosen One is how the Jedi will be reborn and ultimately establish that balance and continue on in the future. And that saves you hundreds and hundreds of years. Like there are new threats that arise, but now because of the Chosen One, we have a whole lineage of people that are there to fight for the light, support the light, and seek to preserve the balance. I guess okay, we're speechless. Great, like
well, I mean,
I was reading comments. I'm sorry.
No, but like it was
actually Manslayer. Yeah, he brought up this great question, and you just mentioned it too. Balance and force. I mean, what does that even mean too?
Well, I always view balance in the force as the light side being completely. It says powerful light. Luke, I think people overestimate Luke's whole line about like powerful light, powerful darkness. Like there's always going to be like the darkness. But I think that when we talk about balance in the force, like the dark side is talked about as an unnatural form of like power to tap into. And so when people are tapping into that does upset the balance. It's always going to be there, but the balance is allowing your inner light to take over through that darkness and not allowing that darkness to take over. And so the balance that you find is, letting the light cool. I've never understood the people that are like, well, the Jedi were putting things out of balance by like overwhelmingly, like the light was everywhere, so the dark side had to come up and wipe them out in order to reestablish true balance. That to me is a complete misinterpretation of the Force, in my opinion, and what the whole symbolism of the Jedi and the idealism of the Jedi stands for. Like for light, like the High Republic says for light and life, because those two things go hand in hand, in my opinion.
Right.
What do you think, Brian?
I see, because by the time we get to, here's the thing, by the time we get to the end of Rise of Skywalker, there are no Sith, and really the only Force wielder that we even know about in the galaxy anymore is Rey. She is the
Finn. We know he's Force sensitive.
Well, yeah, but okay, that's a good
and
point.
Broom Boy.
And Broom Kid, the kid. Oh my God, that kid should have got an Oscar. I'm not even playing. He just
maybe Grogu,
one of the most worthless kids I've ever seen. In a story, he went nowhere.
I will fight you right
that's
now.
fine. Fight me on it. Let's go. I don't know, like, because it's an entire saga, right? It's the Skywalker Saga, and the Skywalkers started because of this prophecy. And I feel like that in order for that saga to end, the prophecy has to be fulfilled. And so it doesn't get fulfilled in the middle. It doesn't get fulfilled at the beginning. It gets fulfilled at the end, and that's the whole story. And that's just kind of the way I'm looking at it. I don't want to be the one that says that Rey fulfilled the prophecy, because I don't believe that for a second.
I think she's part of it at this point,
but she might
like the
be
legacy
part
of
it.
the prophecy.
The whole Force dyad thing. It's almost like the Force gave this Jedi somewhere down, back in the past, this prophecy, and then said, this is what's going to happen. And then we get to the point and the Force is like, crap, this isn't going the way, that even we thought, and so it, you get this Force dyad that comes out of nowhere. Right. And it hadn't been seen in millennia, right?
Generations. Well,
and
Anakin says to her in Rise of Skywalker, he's like, balance the Force, Rey, as I did. Like he references even the balance that he brought.
Man, I don't know. I really, it's just, my guess is as good as anybody else's on what it means. I just,
in terms of the evil thing, I mean, it's pretty clear the prequels is about the rise of evil through the tree of evil. It's like the tree of evil, the roots, it goes deep into the roots. And the original series is about chopping that tree down, and then the sequel trilogy is about uprooting the tree, once and for all.
I think it's funny that there are people out there that are like, oh, that just means, by the time Anakin was done, there were 2 Jedi and 2 Sith left. No, that's not even close to being the case. Like, Order 66 wasn't nearly as effective as we thought it was, right? At this point, we got all these Jedi coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
We got all these Jedi coming out of the woodwork, right? And so,
well, it's like I saw the thing where it's like if there's 10,000 and you kill 99% of them, there's still like 100 left or whatever. I don't know, that math's probably wrong,
exactly. And so I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's a 2 and 2 thing by any stretch of the imagination. I keep my brain keeps going back to the Mortis episodes of Clone Wars, where you see the father and the son and the daughter, and he's trying to tell Anakin, you will tame both of them. You're gonna rule over my children, the light and the dark. And I feel like, I don't know, it almost feels like it didn't go anywhere. Like that prophecy just never went anywhere at all. You know what I mean? Yeah, Vader became a Sith and destroyed the Sith, by killing Palpatine and turning back to the light. I get it, but I don't know. I'm at a loss, because I feel like it goes back to what I said earlier, how I feel like the prophecy was just a useless thing that was added into episode 1 as an excuse to train Anakin, and then it just never went anywhere.
It didn't have to go anywhere, because they were making the prequels. George was making the prequels not to set up another set of movies or anything. He was, just making it to back up his others. So in his eyes, he created the prophecy as, this is the prophecy to fulfill how everything was balanced out at the end with Vader and Palpatine's death and all of that. So Jay, what were you gonna say?
No, I totally agree with what you guys are just saying right there, and what Brian said, in that I think that it was more of just a plot device to get Anakin on the Jedi
Into the
Council.
order.
Yeah, the whole thing about in all honesty, I'm not even sure if like George Lucas was even concerned about the wording, balance, and
Yeah.
he probably just thought like, oh, balance because it's just like 50-50. You got the Jedi and the Sith. So
We need a whole episode of Jay just being George Lucas.
I work parties, bar mitzvahs, and birthdays. You can sign me up. No,
Hired.
but so
Funerals.
funeral for Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn
Oh
was
my
never
God,
meant
he
to be
died. He
part.
died on Naboo.
Jay was actually the one that gave the eulogy at Qui-Gon's like pyre burning.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
No, what's funny was
Oh.
as far as like the balance thing, and there being 2 Jedi, 2 Sith, I actually did like used to subscribe to that theory for some time.
Mhm.
But hearing Tyler's interpretation, that actually makes a whole lot more sense because it could also just be balanced in terms of equity.
The
in terms of-
natural balance, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of light just being 100% throughout everything. And well, 100% is actually technically balanced if you think about it. So that could be it too. The fact that 100% is all light and that's all that's covered, and if it's 99, 98%, that's imbalanced. So even if there's like this idea of like there's 1 Sith out there, there's 2, how many Sith there are, that could be another way of interpreting it as well.
I mean,
Maybe I don't know. I feel like the prophecy is fulfilled when it ends in episode 6, and then there is balance for a long time. There was balance, is what Luke even says in like The Last Jedi.
It could be like a cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cycle. I mean, there's always going to be evil in the galaxy. I mean, there's always going to be things that are seeking to change the natural order of things or to seek to bring darkness into the world. So it's going to take on different forms. Like in the High Republic right now, the dark side is being manifested in the Nile, in a sense. The darkness in what the Nile are doing with the Nameless. This is something that is being manifested right there. And so I'm sure in this Rey movie in the future, God, I hope they have I hope they're not going to retread. I'm sure they won't retread a Sith thing, but I'm sure they have someone new that's trying to, cause problems, and it's going to bring some sort of imbalance possibly to the galaxy at some point. And I hope it's not a galactic altering event. I hope it's a little bit smaller scale. But I do think that the prophecy of the Chosen One has just really opened the doors for a lot of interesting Star Wars discussion. Like it is something that will always be in the forefront of people's minds when you think about the the prequel trilogy. And it does, we see the threads of it kind of interwoven within each trilogy and the discussion around each trilogy. So I thought it would just be a fun discussion for us to have tonight, just to even talk about it and bring up some of our thoughts about it.
I want to talk about Casey's comments back here real quick.
Oh my gosh, yes, I forgot about those.
That Casey dropped toward the top of the show. The Force existing in Peridia nullifies the Chosen One. If the Force exists in all galaxies, so do Force users and levels of balance, making him the Star Wars Galaxy Chosen One. Annie shafting Sheev wouldn't alter the balance in these other galaxies. Prophecy only makes sense if Force is specific to Star Wars Galaxy. He's got a great point. I've never thought of it that way.
Huh.
I think that I haven't really,
instead of it being a prophecy, was it just a Jedi that was like high on death sticks somewhere? Like
no, so I think the prophecy applies. I think that it's not nullified in any stretch or imagination. One, because Dave Filoni wouldn't do something that would nullify something that George Lucas, his Jedi master, intentionally created. He's not going to go out there and do this whole pretty thing. I think that what we have discovered is that the Force and everything that we knew is amplified beyond what we knew. And we saw within that galaxy that the Night Sisters and some of the Mortis stuff that could come into play, may have originated there and carried itself over into our galaxy. So things from that galaxy have impacted directly what has happened in our Star Wars galaxy. So to say that something from our Star Wars galaxy can't impact something over here, I don't necessarily agree with that, just because I think that who knows how far like a darkness can spread, and who knows what that could mean elsewhere. We don't know those things. For all we know, that it could have impacted it somehow, just because that there is darkness going on in other parts of the globe here on Earth, and there's horrible things, and it doesn't necessarily impact my day-to-day life, doesn't mean that that darkness still doesn't exist, and that there isn't a way for us to. So I think that even though maybe in Peridia, they didn't feel the repercussions of what was going on in the other part of, say, galaxy due to Palpatine and the Sith, doesn't mean that that darkness still didn't exist for them at the same time.
I don't know though, because there's mentions that Palpatine could feel a really deep darkness outside the galaxy, out in the unknown areas in some of the books, and they never even really went back to touch on what that darkness was that he sensed out there. But that was, even if
there's lots of darkness around,
yeah,
like it's not
but
just
if he
one.
could feel it, outside the galaxy, why couldn't somebody in that galaxy feel it from the other side? You know what I mean? I
So
just
they
I
could
don't
have.
know.
I'm not saying like that maybe that we don't know if they didn't. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh, gotcha.
like we don't know that, and we might. It looks like we're gonna get some more stories with Ahsoka season 2 of what could be
Great.
going on in this other galaxy, which opens up. We need a whole episode on this other galaxy, honestly,
Yeah,
because
we
there's
could.
so many talking points.
We've only
on
seen
that.
one planet from it so far.
And it's the most boring planet in the whole galaxy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's got a ring of space whale bones. That's pretty freaking cool. Like,
That's not even on. That's not on the planet. That's in the atmosphere.
yeah, but it's still part of the planet.
It's not. It's beyond the planet. If you get outside, you can't breathe in the space of whale bones. So, like, it doesn't count. It's outside. Like, it's on the planet. It's boring as crap until you get to the statues of the Mortis gods,
Fair enough.
which is going to open up a whole can of worms that I am not prepared for the online Star Wars people to deal with them about the Mortis stuff, because I think it's the most overblown arc in all of Star Wars.
You think it's overrated?
It is the most not overrated. I love the Mortis arc, but in terms, I mean, like
Blown out of
like
proportion.
blown out of
Gotcha.
proportion. Like they took a two episode deal from the Clone Wars, and
Yeah.
people have made it like this whole story about how this symbolizes how Anakin is the father, Luke is the son, like Ahsoka's gonna be the daughter, all this stuff, and I'm like, it's not that deep. It was a 2-episode deal in a kids show, 3-episode arc in Clone Wars. It's not going to be an end-all be-all storyline for Star Wars. If anything, it's just a fun avenue to explore like the mythos of Star Wars, sure, but it gets blown way out of proportion. It's an awesome arc that I love watching, but people like bend the knee to the Mortis arc, I'm like, this is everything. I'm like, it's just not. It drives me insane.
I am happy they're going back to touch on it some more though in Ahsoka. I am happy about that.
Oh,
it's
bring it on. Like, yeah.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous about it, but it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. I'm more intrigued than anything, but
I just wonder what that does to the general audience.
And something like now
we're really getting in the weeds.
We could.
This is like the after show, people. Yeah, for those of you who are wondering what we talk about after we stop recording, it's literally we stop and then we just keep talking.
We just keep talking about that.
We
could be getting set up for an explanation of the prophecy through Ahsoka.
100%.
And actually finally getting a definitive answer on what it actually means. If we're doing this Mortis thing in Ahsoka season 2, and Balin seems to be, a character that I would really like to see at the center of that getting explained, because he's already talked about Anakin.
He should definitely be the one to explain.
Yeah, I think Balin would be an excellent character to be kind of the catalyst, not the catalyst, the what's the medium of which this is getting explained. And I think that would be great, especially if he's looking for the Mortis gods on Peridia or whatever it is he's looking for. Even if they're looking, I don't know what it is. What was the thing called, the in Legends, the mother, I don't remember what it was called.
Oh, Abeloth.
Abeloth, yeah, something along.
Oh my gosh!
If I
I'm
hope
telling you
not,
right now,
I
I'm
agree.
telling you right, it's zero. I'm giving
But
zero chance.
but I
Zero.
feel I hope.
None.
But I feel like we're gonna get an actual explanation as to what this prophecy actually was in Ahsoka season 2. And I mean, they've already confirmed Hayden Christensen's going to be in season 2 as Anakin Skywalker. We know
They
he's there
did?
as a Force ghost. Yeah, I think, didn't they? I thought I
I
saw
haven't heard
somewhere that
that.
he's going to be in season 2.
Yeah, I
Maybe that
haven't.
wasn't confirmed. Maybe
I
it
don't. I
wasn't
don't
confirmed.
think so.
Don't listen to me. Maybe it was going to take it with a grain of salt. But I remember
I would
seeing
love
somewhere
that,
that he
but I
was going
don't
to be in
think
it.
so.
Was it okay? It was rumors. I don't know why I was
It's
thinking it was,
like
but
it's
it's going to
fair to
happen though.
assume he'd
Yeah,
probably show up as a Force
but I
ghost.
feel like it's really going to get brought to the forefront whenever we get season 2 of Ahsoka, whether that be 2-3 years from now or whatever. But
They're gonna
yeah, I
drag
I
this whole
think
Mandoverse arc thing way too long.
they,
It's gonna be
yeah,
insane.
they are,
It's
yeah.
gonna be
But
2032, and we're finally gonna see the
back
Thrawn
in my
moving.
day, the Mandalorian, baby Grogu is going to be a teenager by the time I'm an old man. Like he's gonna be a toddler.
It's gonna be insane. I can't wait for all the stuff. It's wild. Next week we have the Bad Batch season premiere,
Yeah,
3-episode season premiere. Ryan, you'll be here next week. Jay will be
yeah.
gone next week, I think. So we'll have
Good. He
Miguel
won't
on
have to kill
talk
off any
about
more Bad
this.
Batch characters.
So if someone from the Bad Batch were to
I'll get rid
die
of
next
Echo.
week in the three like episode premiere and Jay can't be on, that's like honestly a tragedy. If someone dies, so no one better die next week, just so like. But it would also be so ironic if someone were to actually die and Jay's not able to come and talk about an actual like death. That would be so ironic if that did happen. But hopefully that doesn't like happen. I would hate for that. I just watched I'm almost done with season 1. I watched the second to last episode, and the Crosshair stuff is so good. Every episode with Crosshair is my
it's great.
favorite. He's fantastic. So what an episode. You never know what we're going to talk about on here. I think we did it was fun stuff. So Brian,
What's up?
please plug a couple things for us.
You guys can find me at my show, the Star Wars Canon Podcast. You can also check out my show on my website, starwarscanon.net. The timeline is finally fully armed and operational, and it is ready to go. You guys can go check that out. The Legends timeline is there also if you guys want to read. Man, I about broke my microphone. If you guys want to go read into some Legends stuff, you guys can check that out on there as well. I'm going to be breaking it down to similar eras as what the canon timeline is broken down into now. But we'll see how that goes. That's not a priority at this point. But go check that website out. Check out the show, and yeah, let me know what you guys think of the website.
Awesome. Everyone, please like and subscribe to the channel. It's been great chatting with you. But before we go, let's get Jay in here. Plug a couple stuff for us, Jay.
I'll be happy
Try
to.
not to kill any characters while you do so.
No, no characters killed off so far, at least on my YouTube channel. Good Games Dude. Just got that up a few weeks ago, but I just uploaded a new video talking about Final Fantasy VII. So if you guys are excited like me for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or just love the series, or have never even played any of the games before, I got that video up. Just talking about why Final Fantasy VII especially is such a beloved and timeless classic. So feel free to check that out as well.
So also, if you guys didn't know, if you watch ever play Lego Star Wars, Brian?
Yes.
So I heard there's a rumor
games
that
rule.
Jay has like a 1-hour clip of him just killing Qui-Gon over and over on Lego Star Wars on his YouTube channel. That's
It's
what
funny
I heard.
you say that, because like on the original, well, I don't remember what it had to be. Lego Star Wars, the first ones, the prequels, there was an achievement for killing Jar Jar so many times in a row. There was, I don't remember what it was called, but there was a trophy for killing him so many times.
Wonder how many people have that trophy.
That was like the 3rd trophy I unlocked in the game. I didn't even know there was a trophy for it. I just did it, and then it popped up, and I was like, oh, okay. So no, love them.
Oh, man. So everyone else, please like and subscribe to the channel. Go to Star Wars Newsnet for all of your Star Wars news and everything. Check out Jay's review of the High Republic Jedi Adventures. I believe issue number 3 just came out. Lula, she better be safe. She better be all right. I think I haven't read this week's issue yet, but I'm a little bit scared. because I love her so much, and I need Lula to live on forever. And as always, stay tuned to the channel. Yesterday, because it was Valentine's Day, I was waiting for my hair to dry. Brian, I don't know if you watch this. You should go watch my short from yesterday. I was waiting for my hair to dry.
yeah.
I was sitting there, had my suit on, like waiting for my hair to dry before I took my girl out. And I was like, you know what? Let's get on here. Give my 3 favorite Star Wars couples in our galaxy. And number 1 is, I'll just tell you right now, it's Han and the Millennium Falcon. Really, like that's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's not even Han and Leia. It's Han and the Millennium Falcon. Like he it's just bad. Anyway, so check that out. I'm gonna try to get another Who Is in Star Wars video done this weekend. Hopefully, I'm coaching basketball right now. Once basketball season dies down, I'm gonna be able to do some more videos, more routine. It's just when you're at school 12 hours all the time, it's not exactly easy to come in here and have energy on the YouTube channel. So, but we're almost done with that. So as always, everyone, please check out the Star Wars channel. Brian and I recorded episode 4 of the Timeline Show today. So that was really fun. We talked about Quest for the Hidden City by George Mann. If you like zombies and bats and you would like to hear about zombie bats, tune in.
Awesome.
We're talking about zombie bats taken over by parasitic rocks. That's Star Wars for you, everyone.
Awesome.
Until next time, for Light and Life, hang in there, everybody.